All right, welcome to Thursday, March 31st. Good to see you this morning. Today we'll be reading 1 Samuel, chapter 17 through 19. Shall we go? So chapter 17 is the story of David and Goliath. The story really happened. If you have heard me teach on it before, one of the first times I read the story as a teenager is when I lived in apartments over on Mill Street. And I always pictured these stories happening right about where I live. So this story for me happens at the park on Mill Street. So it's just funny how some of these stories, you place them in different places. I don't know if you assign faces to some of these people, but this really happened. Goliath was really a tall guy. If a cubit is the same as it is now, a little over 9 feet tall. The tallest man that we know of, Wadlow, was almost 9 feet. These were, some families of giants that happened. But the best part of the story here is David basically says, nobody talks about my God that way. And he's ready to, we learn a great thing from David here. He's given armor to go out, but what's he say? I can't use them. I haven't proved them. A lot of things not being proved right now, but we're still using them. New worship styles, new Bibles, newfangled things. At some point, we got to stop and say, you know what? I haven't proved these yet. They haven't been proven. Is Christianity where you think it should be right now? We're not doing something right. So David goes and grabs 5 stones, puts them in his pouch, and runs after do you have 5 stones in there because he thinks he's going to miss? No, what we find out, if you look over at 2 Samuel chapter 21, verse 22, we find out that Goliath had 4 sons. And so David was just preparing for the inevitable. Luckily, he didn't have to go out and kill them, but did kill the Philistine, obviously. And it got cut out of yesterday's video because of the choppiness. Hopefully, this one won't be choppy. But ruddy means like a red complexion. Healthy. When you see somebody and they look kind of young, and part of their youngness might be a little bit of redness to their cheeks. That's what it's talking about there. That's what ruddy. So here we find Goliath getting hit in the forehead hard enough, and if this guy's 9 feet tall, what his forehead looks like. It's not just some tiny little forehead. He's got that thing going on. But what we learn here, he got hit in the head on the front hard enough for that stone to go into his forehead, but yet he still fell backwards. And what that tells us is I believe God slapped him right on the side of the back at the same time that stone hit him in the forehead. It always baffles me when we get to this chapter and read it towards the end. Saul asking, who is this guy? This same guy's been playing. So not only, these spirit problems, but you're having memory problems. Saul's not in good shape. So chapter 18, we start talking about David and Jonathan. David doesn't have a wardrobe fit for the type of public figure now that he's supposed to be. Jonathan gives him some of his stuff. What's really sad is that people make the story between David and Jonathan more than it is, or into some sort of weird sinful relationship. Even Saul's going to say that later on. It's not very often that a man can find a friend and their souls just knit. I'm lucky to have had a few of those in my life, and even now, women have these kind of relationships all the time where, we're sisters, we joke, we do all that. Guys, we're not as comfortable with that. And, frankly, what some people say about David and Jonathan might be part of the reason. You can have a friend that you're closely knit to without it getting weird. So let's just let these two be good friends without it getting weird. Okay? So here we see Saul's jealousies starting to sink in. It's going to ruin him. But now, did you see there in verse 10 that Saul is prophesying from an evil spirit? What in the world do you think he was saying then? I didn't catch that till this time through. And also, did you notice a couple times in the last couple chapters and in this chapter that the Bible says Israel and Judah? We know that there's going to be a division later, but you see the fissure in the kingdoms already starting. They already see themselves as separate. It's already kind of 2 camps. And then can you see Saul here, promises his first daughter, gives her to somebody else, and then I don't know what kind of woman that Michael is, Michelle, whatever her name is, however you pronounce that. That Saul thought, that's good. Let's marry them. She'll drive him nuts. And then the story with the foreskins just cracks me up. Saul thinks that he's going to, not see David again. And all of a sudden David shows up with a bucket full of 200 foreskins. I can't imagine that was very appetizing to look at. Imagine that bucket being brought in and dropped before Saul. His reaction. That's not something anybody wants to see. Hey, here's a bunch of rubber bands for your desk. So now in chapter 19, David flees. They chase him. At some point, you just got to stop. And you just read this chapter and you just know, yeah, it's time to stop. And then the men end up prophesying. And then all of a sudden, Saul shows up. God makes him preach naked. God humiliates him there at the end. All right, so hey, hope you have a great Thursday. Already looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And hope you have a great day.